Hey folks, and welcome to Typology, the show in which we explore the mystery of the human personality through the lens of the Enneagram. I'm Anthony Skinner, producer of the show, and we want to wish you a happy holidays. We hope you're having a good one. In light of the holidays, we are taking a week off to be with our families. So this week, we're replaying one of our most downloaded episodes with Annie F. Downs. Annie's awesome. Annie's a best-selling author, nationally known speaker, based right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And her books include 100 Days to Brave, Looking for Lovely, Let's All Be Brave. And her latest, which you need to go out and get, just now released, Remember God. So make sure you check that out. Hey, sincerely, we really do hope that you all are having a wonderful holidays wherever you are with family and friends. And much love from Ian and myself. We really do appreciate you all. That's it for me, Anthony Skinner, and without any further ado, here is the host of our show, Ian Cron.
Annie Downs, welcome to Typology. If one more person told me that I needed to have you on, I don't know what I was gonna do, but
I know, I'm sorry.
It involved self-harm, but I am so excited to have you here. Can I just take a second and brag on you?
Oh, sure. That's very kind. Yeah.
So, hi everybody. So Annie, best-selling author, incredible speaker. In fact, our mutual friend Miles Adcox told me he heard you speak at somewhere last night.
Yeah, at Crosspoint Church.
At Crosspoint Church, giant place. And hey, just such you were incredible. And so word on the street is you are an amazing communicator, which I know to be true. You live here in Nashville, the best city in the country.
The best city,
Love this place.
Agreed.
You kind of self-describe yourself as flawed but funny, and maybe we'll explore that a little bit. And that you use your writing as a way to underscore the everyday goodness of a real and present God. And
I mean, could I have a more 7 bio? I mean,
no, I mean, this is good news. So you've got books. You've got 100 Days to Brave, Looking for Lovely, and you've got a book that dropped on October 2nd.
Yes, sir.
A brand new book called Remember God, and so we're gonna talk a little bit about that and what life is like for you as a 7.
Oh, I love listening to your show, and I really love when you have 7s on because Luke Norsworthy is one of my very best pals, and the whole time he was on your show, he was going, I don't have any feelings about that. I'm just having a great time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we've had some serious 7s. Bob Goff,
yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Bob is a 7 with a 7 wing.
And I think I am too, really. I know that's Rob Bell, that's Bob, that's me. I mean, I don't know that I wing anything but 7. I see some 8 stuff and some 6 stuff in me, but I am hardcore 7.
Yeah, Rob, I mean, he surfs every day. He starts his day off every single day by going surfing. Like it's a spiritual practice for him.
Yes. I keep a confetti popper in my purse at all times.
You do not.
In case Yes, I do. I have an entire drawer in my office labeled fun things, and it's full of confetti and confetti poppers and any kind of miniature party you need to have at any time.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Do you have a playlist on like Spotify called Happy?
No, because you know what? I don't ever use that word. Is that weird?
No.
I don't ever use the word happy. I use the word fun the most. So if I'm going to have a playlist or a something like that, I'm probably going to lean toward fun or joy. I feel like happy has weird connotations to it to people, and fun has no connotation except fun.
Yeah, that works. I mean, but now you need to get a Spotify playlist called Fun.
Yeah,
if you did have one, who would be like the number one band you would download or artist?
Oh, do you know who I actually love is Mumford & Sons? Even though they aren't very crazy and fun, they are very feely.
Yes.
But I think that's the author in me too, that I love how they write. But when it comes to just pure fun dancing music, there is no wrong answer. I mean, if it is fun, I love rap, hip hop. I love country music. So it just, I mean, I feel like everything I'm saying, Ian, you're going to go like, well, of course she said that, she's a 7. But my actual answer is I like all music. I mean, I haven't ran into music I didn't like. When I go see movies, I either like them or love them. Like those are usually the 2 options.
I love music too. But I have run into music I don't like.
Yeah.
Like electronica, for example.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Same. That would not be, but pretty much any hip hop, any 90s, early 2000s, NSYNC era. I loved all that. So
wow.
if it sounds fun, I'm about it.
Well, you can actually explain this to me because my son is a 7, very, very, very strong 7. And he actually likes really sad music, which is so weird to me.
Yeah,
like he
I do too.
loves melancholy, very reflective. And sometimes I'm like, dude, you need to put on some Pharrell because I'm not doing well with this. Like I'm a 4. And even I am like, want to get in the bathtub, with a bottle of scotch while you're doing this.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the difference is sad music doesn't do that to us.
What does it
do? To me, sad music or melancholy music actually brings me to a balanced level compared to what's going on in my head. So when I need to write or when I need to prepare, or if I'm cleaning my house or doing something that for me, if I need to come down a couple of notches of excitement or just fever pitch kind of feeling in my head where there's a lot to do and a lot going on, and that music brings me to the middle versus bringing me down to scotch in a bathtub. I mean, I can get there, but sad music or melancholy music or Mumford & Sons kind of music kind of is the center of the seesaw for me.
All right, so what you're really describing actually clinically is how Adderall affects people who have ADHD.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like if a person takes Adderall who doesn't have ADHD, it just feels like speed. It's like, woo! Now, if you give it to somebody who legitimately has ADHD, they don't have that response. It just brings them back to baseline.
Okay.
So I'll just say that your love for music is actually self-medication, and you should feel and you should feel bad about it. But it's legal.
Listen, if there is one thing I can do, it is self-medicate. I mean, I've been in counseling pretty significantly for about 5 years to try to work my first 30 years of self-medicating out. And I mean, I was the unhealthy 7 that refused to feel pain, and so did everything I could do not to feel pain.
What'd you do?
And it's only been I ate, I drank, I stayed up too late and watched movies and things I didn't want to watch in movies, and spent time with friends when I was tired. I mean, I just would go, this is no exaggeration, I would go weeks without a night where I didn't stay out late. I mean, but I was still living my life because whether this is 70 or Annie or whatever, because all 7s are different, but I could still do my life. It was college and after college, I could still do my job. I could still live my life. When I wasn't working and doing my job or going to school, I wanted to be busy and be doing something to keep me from feeling pain. And the whole time I was a believer, and the whole time, I mean, some of the time church was my medicator and quiet times were my medicator. And I was anything to keep from the quiet winning is what I would do. And
I like that.
I did I didn't do drugs, but I didn't sleep around, but I did just about as much self-medicating as I could do to not feel the sadness that was living in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you know my story? Do you know that in 2013, I melted down and got on a plane and flew away from everyone? Do you know this part of the story?
But I want to hear it.
Yeah. So I pulled a real, and this was before I knew Enneagram. If I'd have known Enneagram, I'd have known. Now I have the language. I mean, I feel like that's one of the beautiful things about Enneagram is it's not just this fun conversation I love having with my friends. For my own life, it gives me language of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And so now I'll say, oh, why are you on Airbnb looking for a trip in February when it's September? What are you running from? You're running from something. Something hurts. Oh, you actually just feel lonely. I mean, this was last night, Ian. You actually just feel lonely because you preached all day, and then you came home to an empty house, and so you're wanting to run away. We're not going to run away. We're actually just going to feel lonely, and that is okay. And you can tell someone or you can sit in it, but we're not going to book an Airbnb for a trip that doesn't happen for 6 months. Right. I mean, but I have that language now. But yeah, in 2013, everything was falling apart at the same time. I had a relationship that wasn't working. I was single at the time, currently still not married. And, so a relationship wasn't working, and there was a friendship issue, and work wasn't working. Nothing was working. And every other time I'd been able to go to another thing that was right to cover up the thing that was wrong. And suddenly there was no right thing. And it just got too much. And so I literally, and now I only flew to Florida, so that wasn't that dramatic from Tennessee to Florida. But for a nanny and for a 7 to leave and not tell anybody, I mean, I didn't tell anybody where I was going. And I didn't have any plan. I just needed to get away. I didn't want to end my life. I just didn't want to live my life anymore. I just wanted out of my life. I wanted to eject. And so I did. I ejected and went to Florida. And because God doesn't ever let us get away from him, honestly, which I'm so thankful for, 2 of my best friends ended up being on the same flight to Florida, and I didn't know. And it was Southwest, so you can sit by your friends. So they just came and sat by me and were like, "What are you doing? We didn't know you were going to Florida." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know yesterday either. I bought the flight this morning on the way to the airport." So, and I just told him the truth. And I knew in that moment I had this, it was so life altering for me, Ian, because I just had never done that. I had never said, "Everything's wrong. I don't want to do this." I'd always said, as a 7 does, "Oh, I'm having a hard time, but this is so fun, and I have this coming up, and this is going to happen, and have you seen this movie, and did you try this new restaurant?" And I told him the truth, and the husband just said, "You don't have to go back. You can stay with us. You don't have to be in that relationship. In fact, you probably shouldn't be, and we can help. Everybody will help you with what they can help you with, but something's really broken in you, and you need to figure it out and get it fixed, because this is a deep thing." And I started counseling the next week and have been in it once a month now-ish. Every 3 weeks I see my therapist, but for a while it was once a week, multiple times a week at some points. Just trying to, one time she said, I think you'll appreciate this because you know my type so well. She said, "It's not just that you've allowed some parts of your car to get rusty. It's that the entire car has to be taken apart and put back together." She was like, "You've let it rust for so long that it's not like we have pieces to replace. We actually need to rebuild." And so we've been doing that for years. And I've probably felt on the backside of building for about a year.
All right. So when you were going to Florida,
yeah,
and this is frequently a feeling that, a question I like to ask people is, what feeling were you hoping to leave behind in Nashville?
Every one of them except fun. I didn't want to feel pain. I didn't want to feel disappointment. And part of the problem with being a 7 and running from your pain and being a person of faith is that in your deepest parts of you never get to really run away. Because you know that God is everywhere, and that relationship, you can't run from that relationship.
Right.
Even if you're drunk, even if you're, in the depths of something really bad, even in your worst moments, you know that because you're a person of faith, you can't actually get away. And so that is so devastating that you can't get away. That's how I felt. I felt devastated that I knew I couldn't get away, and I knew I couldn't really do what I wanted to do. And so there was devastation. I felt a lot in that season. I remember feeling just get me away from all of this, because I didn't have the language to say like, "Oh, a 7 wants to run from this." I was in a relationship with a 9, and 9s, correct me if I'm wrong, I've told you earlier, like I know just enough to be incredibly dangerous about the Enneagram, but whereas 7s run from pain, 9s run from confrontation. And when I was unhealthy and he was unhealthy and we were trying to have a relationship, we couldn't have a hard conversation. So I'm like, as soon as I learned the Enneagram, I went, "Oh my gosh, no wonder we didn't work. You didn't want to have a hard conversation. I didn't want to feel a hard conversation."
Right. Yeah, totally.
So
it can be sort of a codependent, strange relationship. You're kind of you can, in a place of, unconsciousness, be feeding the worst side of
yes.
each, or I should say, kind of enabling the worst side. But now I'm gonna put your feet to the fire. Are you ready? 7s.
Okay.
7s hate being on the show sometimes. Like Luke, man, he freaks out every time he's on my show. He's like, "I don't want to go there."
I know.
But like you just said, I wanted to get away from pain. I wanted to kindle. Those are big bucket words. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you were trying to get away from lots of feelings, lots of pain. But what I want to know is, what was the dominant feeling or distress internally that you wanted to get away from?
What was the dominant feeling that I wanted to get away from? Let me think. When I think about that flight, I wanted to get away from what I predicted was going to be a really hard future. I don't know what that feeling is, but that's what I was foreseeing, that there was going to be conversations I didn't want to have, and I wanted to run away from them.
So was
that
the
a feeling? Sorry.
Yeah,
if you'll give me a list, I'll pick out the right feeling for you.
Yeah, that's I think it's called dread.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have to make a choice not to run from dread. Well, I have to make a choice not to run from pain, but I do choose that now. I know I've said to Miles, I went to Onsite in January, and I said to Miles after Onsite, that I have had a more painful life and a more beautiful life since I quit running from pain. It hurts more, and it's more beautiful than I ever dreamed of. It's the more you see the darkness, the more you see the light, And so, so to 2013, I guess dread would be the closest one. Yeah.
So, and probably the feeling of powerlessness, which is I'm powerless. I'm no longer in control of the situation. I can no longer orchestrate an escape from what I'm about to feel or face.
Yes, that's right. And that is still true of me at times. One of the things, my counselor, who is just brilliant, often says to me, yeah, what if we can't control that? Yeah, what if that is mysterious? Because I don't like mystery in general, and I don't like being out of control of things. That's my one, my unhealthy one goes, go and take everything should be right all the time. And if it's not right, who did it wrong? And I will fire them and replace them with myself, and I will do it, And so the idea of sitting in a situation where I've lost control of everything that sounds scary even saying that to you.
Yeah, so, sevens are some of my favorite people on the planet. Obviously, I'm the dad of a 7.
Yeah.
I'm a 4, which is, very different from a 7. But I do have a very deep love for that spirit, and they're a wonderful counter to me in my life. And I got lots and lots of friends who are 7s, and so you're in the company with the right person. But I also do feel for their dilemma, because life is really difficult, and I think our whole culture. We are the most drugged, medicated culture in the history of the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by far, pharmaceutically. So it's not just 7s running away from pain. I just think we have a culture that thinks happy is normal.
Yeah, that's right. And I say that from when I'm teaching or preaching sometimes. I'll say, I grew up thinking that I was living in a happy world that had blinks of sadness. And anytime that sadness lasted longer than a blink, I was really disturbed, because it was not supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be like in a Disney movie where they play in a field, like it's supposed to be fun. And what is actually true is what Jesus said is true, is that in this world you will have troubles. And so now that I am not afraid of pain, and now that I'm willing to face it more head on, the sentence more in my head is, yeah, life is hard, and isn't it beautiful when it's not? Isn't it a gift when it's not? And isn't it when we have a great day? Aren't I lucky that I had a great day? How do you find, and it's the difference of switching between happy and joy for me, from going from like, yes, this has to be happy, this has to be good, to like, no, like joy just lives in me. And that isn't about my circumstance. And most likely the circumstance for everyone, myself, every 7, every number, their story is harder than they let people realize.
All right. So, I'm always warning people to be very careful about like parent blaming, because that's too easy.
Sure.
But I have children, and I know that by virtue of being a broken person in a broken world, I have contributed to their commitment to therapy. And so did you, well, let me phrase it this way. In a way, everyone's Enneagram type is indicative of a strategy that we adopted to deal with childhood trauma.
Yes.
So in your life, what was that trauma?
Yeah, I think that for me, the 7 is always asking who's going to take care of me. Right. And one of the things I've wrestled down in dating relationships is this man's job is not solely to take care of you. Right. I've had to my expectations, I've had to hear in my head, oh, you are asking him to be something because of your 7 pain. Like that we should take care of each other in friendships and dating and family. We should take care of each other. But when I boil anything down, it is, are you going to take care of me? Because that's the question. So I think there was some of that growing up of feeling like there were times where I was my number one caretaker. Because of my siblings, because of my parents' jobs, maybe because of experiences at school or at church that just kind of had me asking. And there is this thing in me that I don't know that I can trace it very well, but there is a thing in me that says, you are the one who is in charge of taking care of you. So you better take care of you, and you better make sure you have what you need because you're the only one who cares. And that is still, that's still, that's not true. That's a lie. And so I still have to wrestle that and say that is actually not true. You're not the only one who takes care of you. In fact, you're not even the primary one who takes care of you. There's a bigger, better story here than that. And I would think I think no one gets out of childhood. You said it, and you taught it to me when I read The Road Back to You. That's the first time I ever saw there's a childhood, there's a nature and a nurture to who you are in Enneagram. And I can see the nature because of my dad's personality, because of the storytelling that's come down through my family. But I can see some of the nurture too. I felt like there were times that when I was little that while my parents were busy dealing with other siblings, I was in charge of making sure I was okay.
Did you play the role in the family of the class clown, the family clown who kept, when things were intense or people in the family didn't want to deal with problems that were clearly happening in the system, your job was to keep the sunshine going? Yeah.
My dad's that way too because he's really funny. He says he's a 6 with a strong 7 wing, but that's just because he always is. I think that's part nature too, that he felt wants to always make sure everyone feels safe in the family because of his upbringing. And so, but he's really funny. You're going to love this, Ian. He came in second for the funniest comedian, the funniest accountant in the Southeast. It's like an actual comedy competition. Can you imagine? It's all accountants. And so my dad, the accountant, came in second as the funniest accountant in the Southeast.
That's something.
I know, right? Isn't that great? So there's some nature in me of that. And so my other role, something that I remember my parents saying to me one time, which you should never memorize what your parents say to you one time, but one time my mom or my dad, I think it was my mom, said, "You're the thermometer here." You're not the thermometer, you're the thermostat. And I was like, whoa, I did not sign up to be a thermostat of a people group, of a family, and so, and I think we're all, as a system, we're getting healthier and healthier, our nuclear family. But there was a time when I was the thermostat, and my emotion determined where the ship went. And that was a lot of pressure.
Okay, I'm not sure I completely understand this. Give me When you say you were the when your mom says that,
Yeah.
What did I mean?
So
what
if
did that
I'm
really
happy,
mean?
everybody's happy. If I'm not happy, nobody's happy. So I'm not the thermometer. I'm not just telling you what the temperature is. I'm the thermostat. Whatever my temperature goes to, everybody goes to.
Did your family rely on you to bring the juice to the table all the time? Like you were the electricity, maybe you were the person that just kept everybody energized and going.
Probably not as much as you would think. My 7-ness has gotten way more 70 as I've gotten out of the house. And after when I kind of grew up, I got way more into my 7-ness and into that side of my personality. In my upbringing, I felt a lot of pressure from God, not really from God, but youth group and church. I felt a lot of pressure that my behavior determined whether people in my life knew God or not. And so when I was out in public, when I was at school, I felt all these you can't make a mistake. So when I was home, man, I was like, let me just be me. will someone just let me not feel like I have to be a good Christian so that they get saved? So I wasn't the easiest kid to live with. And I just I had a lot. I feel like I was way more complicated than I knew how to communicate. And then my parents knew to ask. I just was more complicated than I knew how to talk about. And I'm really different than most of my family. There's not another creative person. I mean, my dad and my sister and my uncle and my cousins are all CPAs. And my mom's a lawyer. And my grandmother was a librarian. And, and then here I come and I want to host a podcast and I want to write books and I want to, I want to be an entertainer. And I'm riding my bicycle around our property, interviewing myself as a 6-year-old. And there's just no one else in our system that acted like me. And so I didn't know how to talk about that.
All right. We're going to come back in just a second. I have a question for you that I'm excited to ask. But before I do, I'm going to tell people about 2 opportunities or 2 amazing things they just need to know about. One is Lipscomb University's Marriage and Family Master's Program. I don't know if you knew this, but is the only marriage and family therapy program in Nashville to achieve the COA MFTE accreditation. That's the most rigorous accrediting standard in the field. And I know the guy who runs this program, Chris Gonzalez. Do you know Chris Gonzalez? He runs the grad school there of psychology.
I have met him once, but we aren't pals. But I like him from a distance.
He's a great guy. He's a 9 on the Enneagram who really understands the work.
Yeah.
He really gets it. So, really, this MFT program is among the country's best, and they have actually now a specialization in play therapy and in conflict management. So I want to tell all my Typology podcast listeners, get your master's if you feel the call and become a licensed marriage and family therapist. They are accepting applications now at Lipscomb, LIPSCOMB as in boy, .edu/MFT and just learn more about this amazing program. And then I also want to tell people about my friend Michael Kuzak's Restoring the Soul. Now, in my personal experience, and Annie, I don't know if this is true for you too, but because you've been in crisis, as I have been on a number of occasions, a lot of people just don't benefit from a traditional 50-minute hour with a therapist, or even a typical weekly session. Like they got to do more work than that, and oftentimes they've hit a wall where they got to do it faster. They got to have a breakthrough faster than you can ever get in a weekly session for 50 minutes. They need to go to some kind of intensive personal counseling experience, and that is what my friend Michael Kuzak at Restoring the Soul does out in Denver, Colorado. Like I said, we've had Michael on the show a bunch of times. I think he's one of the best therapists. He is one of the best therapists I've never known personally, and I've known him for 30 years. And I will tell you that if you go out and do the work with Michael as a couple, as an individual, you will experience or undergo profound transformation. They do 1 week and 2 week intensives where you're doing half-day blocks, you're doing work the rest of the day. Sometimes you got to get away. You got to deal with your stuff, because if you don't, you're going to sink. And I'm just telling you, this is a collection of people at Restoring the Soul that knock it out all the time. So if you want to learn more about it, you need to dial 303-932-9777. That's my friend Michael's cell phone number, if you can believe it. That's his cell number. And, inquire about what they have to offer. And as a special bonus to Typology listeners, you can go to restoringthesoul.com/typology, and you'll get a PDF download on how trauma can affect your relationships. Anthony, is it restoring the soul or is it restore the soul? Do you know which it is?
It's restoring, isn't it?
I now know this thing so well that I can generally know it off the top of my head, but we should make sure that our sponsor actually is advertised correctly on here. Well, we'll figure. You can tell me in a second. I want to get back to my friend Annie.
Restoring the soul.
Restoring the soul, right?
Yep.
All right, good. Awesome. All right, now, so Annie,
Yes, sir.
What I want to know is, you talk about this in your book. You say that God gives a limp and a blessing.
Yeah.
And I think about Flannery O'Connor's great quote, where she says, "I never trust a man who doesn't have a limp." So what is the limp and the blessing of a 7?
Man, I feel like the whole book of Remember God would make you so proud of me, Ian, that I felt all the pain that I felt in that book. I feel like it's my healthiest book I've ever written. Awesome. And the most one full of pain. That's why we made the cover black, because I was like, it's never going to get darker than this.
This book has a black cover?
Yes.
Nice.
Can you imagine do you know there's actually one of the people from a major retailer that was like, "Are you sure that's Annie F. Downs' new book? We aren't used to carrying books with such a dark cover from her."
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we did a black cover. Yeah, so the limp and the blessing, to me, it goes back to Jacob, is where it comes from, is that wrestling with God, that God blessed him, but it also cost Jacob his ability to walk. So for a 7, to me, the blessing is that life is fun. I mean, life is really fun. I in general, have more fun than the average person. I know I do. I love life. The limp is no one knows how painful it gets. And no, it's not that people don't believe you. It's not that you say that it's not fun and they don't believe you. It's that they don't even know to ask because you look like you're having so much fun. And so to me, that's the limp that I will always walk around with, is people, and the expectation. The other limp for me would be the expectation. Someone messaged me on Instagram the other week and they said, it must be hard to feel the pressure to be this much fun. And I was like, no, it's super fun. For my public life, it's that I love every bit of what I do. What I don't do is because I don't want to do it. But in my private life, it can feel hard, because even my best friends who watch my Insta stories will think everything's fine until I call and go like, "Hey, I'm not okay." And they're like, "But you just put on Insta story." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course I did. I was sitting at my desk at work talking about being on Ian's podcast. Of course I'm having a great time. I think maybe everybody can do this, but as a 7, I can pretty good cut off the pain and ignore it and have fun, but that doesn't mean it goes away. And so I've got to check back into that at some point with my friends. And that's a limp to me, is the expectation to be fun, the expectation that I'm going to be the one who gets everybody together, that I'm going to be the one who plans the things. And sometimes I don't want to be her.
You don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Because I want someone to take care of me, right? I want to be taken care of. So I don't always want to throw the party, because I want to be taken care of.
All right. So let me, for a lot of 7s, being taken care of means support, because a lot of 7s, if not all 7s, a core fear is that you will not just have pain, but you will be stuck in it, and there will be no one there to help you out, and so it's like if 6s deal with life with that fear with pessimism, 7s do it with sort of a overinflated optimism, right?
Yes.
And so, when you say care, again, that's a big bucket word. Are you talking about I need someone to shield me from pain, or I need someone to support me if I'm in it and get me out of it?
Yeah. Oh. Sorry. I just lost my cord. Yeah, so for me, it is not shield me from pain. I don't need someone to protect me from what I'm walking through. I want someone to walk with me in it and to walk me through the other side. So when I'm done, like last night when I'm done teaching, Crosspoint has 4 services, so you teach 4 times. From first service at 9 a.m., last one at 5:30 p.m. So I'm there for 12, 13 hours. And when I get home, I want someone to say, hey, you did good. What can I help? Do you want dinner? Do we want to watch a movie? Just having someone with me in that is what I want. I don't need someone to go, no one speak to her. Leave her alone, please. I don't need a bodyguard. I just like having people that notice when I have, when I am I want people to notice when I'm in pain and say, but I don't want everyone. I don't necessarily, it's not that I need the masses to notice. I want my people to notice, whoever my best friends are, whoever I'm dating, my family, to say hey, we bet that you feel drained. What does it look like to stand with you and to help you? And next week, my 3 best friends from Atlanta are coming up for the day. And we have a little signal on our text message. It's the emergency signal and kind of like our bat sign. And I just put it up and they were like, okay, we'll be there next Wednesday. What do we do? And we're going on a hike and going to lunch and we're not doing anything serious. I just needed somebody to come up here.
So you're a public person, and, oftentimes, like with Bob Goff, right? There are we get paid to have a persona.
That's
that people dig.
Yeah.
And people can be kind of bummed out if we don't show with the persona because that's what they paid for. When you go out
right.
Or we are letting them down because they wanted their people or they wanted their audience at a conference, let's say, to feel something and things in particular when we get up. Right. So do you feel the pressure to be the 7 cartoon? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not funny, if you're not energetic, if you don't bring all that energy, then people will be disappointed in you. Or are you okay with getting up there and being not that persona?
If I am feeling off in a public, if I'm in a speaking situation or a public situation, not an airport or a restaurant, and I feel off or something really bad has happened, I usually tell the organizer, hey, I know you know who I am, but I had a tragedy happen this week, or I've been sick all week and I'm bringing the best I've got. It is not going to feel the same to you as what you're used to, And so yes, the pressure is there, but I usually just say, if there's a reason I'm not going to be who they expect me to be.
Who do they expect you to be, do you think? When you...
they expect me to be funny, loud. They have brought me in because they want someone who talks about God in a really fun, in an honest way, in a vulnerable way, but a really fun, tells her story that people are going to laugh, people are going to have a great time. And I actually love that. The thing is, if people have expectations of you and you aren't willing to meet them, then don't say yes. Right?
Right.
Don't go. And so I know exactly. And I really like who I am. I love being a 7. I wouldn't pick being anybody else. There's pain to being a 7, but there's a pain to all of them. I'm having a great time. And I love that there is a unique spot on this planet that God has purposed me for. And so I love when I go to events and they go well, we brought in these 2 for these reasons, but we brought in Annie because we want everybody to laugh. I'm like, well, great. That's super. Unless 1 out of 100 times I'm feeling off. And it really is 1 out of 100. Most of the time in that situation, I'm right there with them. I'm exactly who I want to be. And that's who they were asking me to be Annie. And Annie has fun 99% of the time out of 100.
All right. Well,
I think that's true. Do you feel like I'm telling you the truth? I think I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I've cried twice, so I think that counts.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, if that's okay. Because just about right before I asked that question, you looked really deeply moved. And, And I was just wondering what was happening in you when, like, what was going down?
Yeah, I just feel, I think I feel tired today because I worked, because I taught so much yesterday, and that is, and the day after I teach, I just feel tired. And the sentence that, I can't tell you how true it is for me. It may not be true for every 7, but the sentence I wrestle with as a single woman who has a public career is anyone going to take care of me? Does anybody care that I just was a public Annie for a lot of hours? And then when I was a private Annie, nobody was there. And so, which isn't totally true, because I had people reach out to me yesterday, and really important voices that I really wanted to hear from. I did. And so I think it just made me, because I'm thinking about my friends coming here next week, and they're celebrating Remember God with me. And so, yeah, but when I talk about being taken care of, that is like the center of my, it makes me teary, because that's the thing that God and I talk about a lot. That's the thing that my therapist and I talk about. It's what I talk to my friends about a lot. Is like, this is the question that I hear in my head the most is, no one takes care of you. You are on your own. So, which is why I think maybe all 7s have a little bit of entertainer in them, or a lot of entertainer in them, as the case may be, is because when we get in a situation, if we want to feel happy, we think, well, then you better go. If you want this to be fun, you better go, because we can't depend on anybody else to do anything, to do it for us. So if you're going to be happy, you better take care of it. And so that is what I've done for my whole life. And I'm getting better at not feeling the pressure to be her. But finding the balance of, like, I am a 7, so I'm going to be the one that brings a lot of fun. And I love that. I don't have to bow to the pressure of that because there is a lack in me. Do that from a place of abundance, not from a place of lack.
That's a good word. Yeah, like I think for 7s, this core belief that in order for them to be secure, loved, and valued, they have to be up. They have to be open to all the potential positives and adventures of life. And, because we all are looking for security and love and value. And that's how 7s, as little people, they thought, well, this is by temperament and by the way that people have responded to me.
Yeah.
This is the way I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
If I do this stuff,
That's right. I used to say to people a lot in, I thought it a lot in high school and in middle school, as I would think things like, well, the boys don't want to date me, but at least they think I'm funny. And if they aren't going to think I'm pretty, at least they think I'm funny. And so that, for sure, I had this sentence in my head, particularly in my adolescence, that is, I don't believe anymore, but the only thing I have to offer this situation is my humor.
That kind of deeply touches me as the father of a 7. And, I've heard he's only 21, but he is, I think, and I think this is true for all 7s. If they've, lived long enough and they've reached, the end of themselves at some point but I think it's sort of a chronic thing, is loneliness. Yeah.
More than other numbers, you think?
No, not necessarily. But I think that, because it's a foil. Like if you're out there with all this energy and being funny and, people are responding to you constantly, right? Because you're, oftentimes the center of attention. Right?
Yeah.
You're bringing the juice. And then you go home and you're alone. And, I can think of one person in particular. And this person is actually a professional comedian and quite successful. And yet, I think he's always wrestled with depression.
Yeah.
He's always wrestled with anxiety and loneliness. Just profound loneliness. And I'm never surprised when a 7 reaches this point of breaking and they're like, I am so tired. I'm so tired. And people have no idea, just because they look connected all the time to people.
Yeah.
Because people respond. But that doesn't mean that you're having deep relationship, right?
That's right.
And so they just have a sense that nobody really knows me. behind the facade of, Mr. and Mrs. Funny and energetic and bring the juice. Nobody actually knows the real me and my depth, and they also don't know about my anxiety and loneliness.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that people would say, like if my best friends listen to this, the thing they would say they knew the least about is my loneliness. I think I have some friends, and this has been as I'm working on my health. I have 3 or 4 friends that really know everything. And so they know the depression when it's happening. They know anxiety when I'm feeling it. But the thing I probably don't put enough words to my people is the loneliness.
This raises an interesting question that I have. And, it's always sort of dangerous about gender, and so, some teachers will say that like women-ates will work themselves to the, and crash, but, they tend to have relationships in which they can cry and emote, and then they bounce back very quickly, once they just blow off the steam, whereas male 8s tend to have heart attacks.
Yeah.
And I think with 7s, I don't know if gender's an issue here because of cultural reasons. They, you have friends in which those types of conversations may be easier than they are for men.
Yeah.
And so I worry about like male 7s because, I think about, the Robin Williamses of the world, or
right.
Now that was, there were other mental health complications.
But do you know, whenever a Robin Williams, I mean, that stuff shakes me when those happen, because I think the way I think about Robin Williams is the way so many people think about me. Not in like I know him. How did that happen? I know him. Mm-hmm. I watched his movies. I follow him. Like, he's fun and he's okay, And so when I see people that are known 7s or people that I would assume are 7s have real breakdowns, I always think, okay, where are you on the scale? How close are you to that? And what do we need to say to people that we aren't saying to people to keep from breaking down? I'm allowed to break down, but I mean like break down in a way that that is very costly. Right. Personally, professionally, long term. Like there's you should protect yourself from burnout. And so I'm allowed to break down. I'm not allowed to burn out. I won't let myself do that. I care too much about my career and God, honestly, and why I'm on this planet to let myself burn out.
So, yeah, I just think that 7s feel this expectation and pressure because you are such great storytellers, etc. And, I just think the danger for you all is hitting that moment where it's like my strategy doesn't work anymore. And that's true for every number.
Yes, but you're right.
When you guys crash, it's really sad to watch.
Yeah. I mean, when I had a relationship not work with a man maybe a year ago, and that is it's why I ended up going. He was just a gateway. The Lord just used him to get me to Onsite because I needed a lot more healing. But the reason I got where I got was because I thought none of my systems are working. This should be working. Not that the relationship had to work, but even in the deterioration of it, my 7ness wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad when a 7 hits rock bottom. It's really sad.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And if you really feel the pressure to live in this persona, and every type, right? Whether, the 3 has to, embody the winning persona, the winner, and the 2 has to be the helper persona, right?
Yeah.
And, we all feel these roles, and we feel like, okay, now I can't break out of this because if I do, I'm changing the script here. See, and every type trains other people to respond to them in a certain way.
Yeah. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, if you're changing the contract, if you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm getting healthy. I need to change. And that'll mean I'm not funny all the time. It might mean that, I have different kinds of boundaries as a 2 or whatever.
Yep.
People will unconsciously not dig this.
Yep.
They will be like, wait a minute, where's the fun? Or wait a minute, where's the help? Or wait a minute, where's the winner? Or wait a minute, where's the blah, blah, blah? And so it takes great courage, really, to break out of a script, to see it and say it's called BS on it, and then say, I'm always going to be a joyful person, but I can't live inside the prison of this old script that I used as a child to deal with trauma.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me as an adult now.
Right.
I need to kind of disidentify with those parts of it that suck, and that trap me in again, persona, a mask.
Yeah.
But people won't always dig it, Annie.
No, I mean, it is something my counselor and I have said. She said to me, and I've said back to her a couple of times, like, I am choosing. It's the limp and the blessing. I am choosing to be healthy, and I am going to be more lonely in this relationship, in this system, in this family, with these friends. I am choosing healthy Annie. And the cost is I am going to feel more lonely because I'm not just playing in the system, the spot I've always played in the system.
So that's awesome. I'm going to throw out an idea to you.
Okay.
Spiritually, I think the people ask all the time, well, the point of the spiritual journey is X or whatever. I've written a book. This is the spiritual journey. Here's what my theory is, and it's not original to me, but to great giants of the faith, that the point of the spiritual life, and I believe this is true in the Christian tradition, is to become yourself.
Yeah.
To become
That's beautiful.
To become real. Like God wants us to become our true selves. That's not navel gazing. It's not self-interest, because
that's right.
It actually is how does Annie Downs bring glory to God? By darn right being Annie Downs.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Ann. Thank you. Yeah.
Right? And that means, and this is true for every type, and people don't get this yet about the Enneagram, and I'm writing about it right now, is like, that means you can't be that number. That means, because when you're unconscious in that type, and when you're using the strategy of your type to get your needs met, apart from God, right? You're getting the response from other people that meets your needs for security and support. Like, okay, it's like, here comes fun chick, right? That's not Annie Downs.
Not always, yeah.
Right, your personality, our personalities are wrapped around a real self, right? I mean, it means mask, persona.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying your whole personality is bad, but what I'm saying is that when you
thank you, I hope not.
No. Every type is beautiful, more complex than a type too.
Yeah.
But the deal is that when it is being used in service to your own protection, support, security, when you're relying on it for that stuff and not God, well, that's an unhealthy personality.
Yeah.
Now it's a mask. It's not. It's protecting your true self. And I think what God wants, and I think what the Enneagram helps us with, is how do I take that mask off and become real and truly myself? Because you're more than just Mrs. Funny.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I love about when other sevens and I talk, I'm always like, we're so different. We're all so different. Because first I'm Annie. That's, first I'm Annie, and then I'm all these other things. And so, but I hear what you're saying. I think that's a good test and good check for me to remember and to make sure in situations, am I coming in first as an Annie or first as a 7? Exactly.
And that's a big thing. I've said this a million times on the show. I will say it a million times more because, we need to hear things repeatedly. But the Enneagram teaches you who you were before the world told you who you were supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Or who you had to be.
Yeah.
And usually, we default to our natural gifts and innate talents to, craft a personality that wins people over and what we hold, and will win their love and their security and all the things we really need in this life. Because as little kids, you don't have any conscious awareness of God. You're trying to figure out, how do I do this on my own? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what game do I have to play? Who do I have to be to please the important people in my life so they take care of me?
Yeah.
Well, I got to be funny.
Yep.
Right? Or I got to do this to keep my family system together, my parents together, or I got to do this in order to survive school. It's like, do you still need to do it? Or now you can choose to be funny. You can choose to be who you are. That's part of who you are.
Yeah.
But it's when you are compulsively addicted and need to be at all costs, or
Right.
you are afraid that your life is going to fall apart.
Right.
That's a sick personality.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My counselor and I have worked through, that was so much of the start of this was how much it needs, what do I need from this? Like, what do I need from the 7-ness, and what do I need from being loud and funny? Because where else can I find that?
Right.
And so now it feels, I mean, I am not done getting healthier, but now being on the healthier side, I do feel more permission from myself. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, I feel like no one has asked me to be more stereotypical than I have. Right? I'm the one who's saying, hey, the only way you're going to get what you want is if you act a certain way. And so I'm the one who made those rules up, not even asking other people. And so it's a journey. That's so Christian-y. It's a journey I'm on to get to the place where Annie always wins over being a 7. So
that is really important, and I want to end on it because that is, and that's true if you're a 4 or you're a 2 or you're a 1. I'm always telling people, like it's almost like you give people a type or a number, which I see. People are more complex than a number or a type. Okay.
Yes.
And there's no such thing as a pure type. But what I'm always telling them is, you're a lot more than some kind of type. I mean, your type is just a sort of a. Let me tell you. Let me put it this way. Your type doesn't actually tell me who you are. And I think what people think is, like people come up to me at restaurants sometimes, and you go, first of all, they'll say, "Oh, you're the Enneagram guy," and that, of course, that'll drive me crazy because that, right? But then they're like, "Oh, I'm a this number." Oh, and I guess that means you know who I am, and I'm like, I have no idea what kind of who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Because your personality is not your soul.
Yes, that's right.
Right? You are plumbless. And what you've actually described is, here's what I know about you. I could probably predict the way that you see the world, the way that you act, the way that you feel in different situations. I can probably predict how you react to different stimuli in your life. I can blah, 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 right? I can, because I know the Enneagram well, I can sort of make very reasonable guesses about those things in your life, but it doesn't tell me what sort of human you are. It doesn't tell me, for example, are you a good person? It doesn't tell me that.
Right.
You could be a 7 with terrible character.
Yep, that's right.
Right.
I hope I'm not, but
no, I don't think you are. But I'm just saying, I don't think I am. We're so much more. I'm always telling people, please don't now identify with your Enneagram type and think that's who you are. And actually communicate to people that that's your identity. It's not your identity. It's the way that you learn to navigate the world and get your needs met. It's the way that you learn. It's a strategy you develop to deal with pain, all of us in different types. And that's it, pretty much.
Yeah.
And once you abandon your type for those reasons, then I think what emerges is your true self. And, once you can just relax your grip on it, what starts to come up is the true Annie, the true Ian.
Yeah. Beyond
personality.
And she's so much better anyway. Like, I just like the moments that she's out. That's the Annie the world gets, and the Annie that I get to see in the mirror. I just like her better anyway than the one who tries so hard. So.
Wow. Well, Annie, thanks for being on Typology. I want to remind people, Remember God, your new book. All about, I love that idea that, we all have a limp and a blessing. And, you're exploring God's immediacy, his presence, his immediate presence at all times, in all places, and in us and around us, and meeting our needs in every way possible. I want to tell people that, your website, Annie F. Downs, and by the way, Annie with an I, right? So it's ANNIEF Downs.com. Check her out there. Also, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they're all Annie F. Downs, at
That's
Annie
right.
F. Downs, ANNIEF Downs. And Annie, thank you for manifesting joy in the world,
Oh, thanks.
and expressing it and bringing it to people and bringing your increasingly true self to the world. We need you as your true self. And I sense deeply that, the veil of personality is thinning on you, and it's more and more transparent so that we can see into your soul, not just your thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian. Man, thank you for the work you do. You are one of my favorites. I'm so thankful. So thank you for what you do. This is such an honor to be on the show. See y'all later.
Thanks, Annie. You are a prize. And I want to just remind my typology listeners of something that, we talked about it today on this podcast. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Love you all.